Hello, everybody. Today I would like to talk about a film I watched last night. I only watched it just to sort of, I don't know, freshen up on it, as it were. It's like one of my favorite movies of all time. It's called Lifeforce. Lifeforce was directed by Tobe Hooper, the guy who did Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Poltergeist and a number of other famous movies, Salem's Lot. And then we have the music done by Henry Mancini. And Henry Mancini did a lot of really famous films. I believe that he was responsible for Wait Until Dark and a whole bunch of other things. So we have this great music, and it's being performed by like the London Orchestra or something. I mean, we got some high-budget music. And then we've got this really cool director who already has a bunch of stuff under his belt by 1985, which is when they made this. And then they based it on some like cheap paperback book, and it's about space vampires. Now, these vampires look exactly like you think they do. They're totally naked. And they hide out in a ship in Halley's Comet, which is green. What is that, man? Like, no one questions that in the movie. They're like, it's lime green, and it flies through the sky. No one finds that even remotely odd. So in this movie, by the way, Halley's Comet's green. And there's a spaceship in there, or a collection umbrella. There's some sort of weird thing in there. And the space vampires hide out in this ship. And the movie opens with us going to this ship. This is a voyage to Halley's Comet. What kind of weird fucking space expedition is this? They would never send people to a comet. What could they be doing? It's just like a spaceship that they're just going to send randomly out into space. That just doesn't make sense. And they're flying this thing like it's a fucking speedboat. They're like, there be Halley's Comet! The big green moving orb in the sky that it is. You know, they'll get there in 45 minutes. This thing can go pretty fast. They've detected inside of it a large, elongated, sort of weird structure of some kind. And it's incredibly long. It's like a couple 100 miles long and a couple 100 miles wide. And they're like, you know, we weren't going to go inside the comet because that's kind of dangerous, but now we are. So we need to go in there and see what it is, but we've got to just leave the ship. They go out of the ship in their spacesuits and are just flying through space. This shit's terrifying, isn't it? All these different movies where flying through empty space is fucking terrifying and you lose your bearings and it's just horrifying to drift away into nothingness. These guys are out and about like it's a walk in the park. They're like, we've got to go over to the ship, so let's get off our asses and fucking get out of the airlock. Why do they need to go and do this themselves? Why can't they launch a probe? But they can't probe it. They're like, sorry, the probers are inoperative, or the sensors can't penetrate it. Whatever this weird ship is that they're in. Oh, and by the way, this ship, I guess it came from the United States. I don't know, but it's like joint British. So it's kind of like NASA and Her Majesty's Space Force. And they're collaborating. So some of the people are British on this, too. We are going to fight for claim on this weird alien spaceship type thing that we found here once we get to it. And they get to the front door, or they get to an orifice. He's like, we are seeing orifices. We've selected one. We will be entering the structure now. My God, it's almost like a spherical and a centipede. So they're drifting into the ship, which I guess is exposed to empty space. And they're looking around, it's all organic looking, and they're like, it looks like we're in a fallopian tube. Oh my God! I think I know where the occupants of the ship are, the people steering it. Oh my God, where are they? And he points over to some weird-ass bat things. And I guess he just automatically assumed that those were the things running the ship. He's like, yeah, no, these weird bat creature things, they were probably the ones who, you know, we're checking the engines and aligning the warp coils. And it appears that they've been completely desiccated, though. I mean, check it out. They're just totally turned to, like, crystal powder or something. I mean, these things are not alive. No threat, particularly, although they are kind of spooky looking. Like, just the energy levels are off. People are acting surprised, but they're not, like, shocked. Well, we've detected a weird alien life form. Now we're going to have to drag it back to the ship. Net one of them. They're like, this is unbelievable, or whatever. Like, let's get out of another orifice has dilated, and they have to go over and see what's in there, and it's shining bright fucking light at them too. Wow, we need to go into the light. So they drift over there to take a peek, and they go through the sphincter and into this like other chamber, which is honeycombed with crystal caskets, is what they call them, but I would say they're just kind of like casings, and they're all kind of again honeycombed around, and it's weird, and they're all empty except for three of them, two dudes and a woman. And this is full nudity right here. We get the whole thing. It's her whole body, and boy, is she beautiful. She's a good-looking chick. I feel like they put a lot of makeup on her to make her look kind of unreal because she's supposed to be the feminine in the mind of the main character. She's like the perfect fucking beautiful ass chick, or the alien has chosen its form. It's like, I am gonna be a hot babe with rockin' tits, and that's how it's gonna be. She's in there just waiting to be awoken or something, and they go up, and again, they're seeing human beings floating around in Halley's Comet, or what appear to be human beings anyway. My god, they all have human genitalia, that's for sure. These must be people, and we should just take them back with us. However, they're remaining in this condition, and whatever kind of case they're in, because it turns out it's kind of like an electric magnetic field, but they're like, no, we gotta bring it back on the ship, and now we gotta haul the other thing too, and while I'm out shopping, do you need anything else? The ship's like, no, 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 we don't need anything else. Just bring back these specimens, and we'll depart from Halley's Comet. And then suddenly the ship gets horny. It starts like dilating, and the umbrella opens. And they're like, whoa, looks like you guys tingled the wrong orifice. Or you did something weird because now there's been a reflex and it's opening the umbrella. And they bring these things back onto the ship. Now, cut. This movie moves fast, and there is no downtime. I mean, usually the energy builds up towards a climax. I mean, there's the Aristotelian story structure. But this is just like a steady stream of action coming at you with kind of a plot in there. We go to London, because that's where this takes place. This spaceship has been found. It's drifting through space. It's not on its right course. And everyone's like, my God, it didn't update its trajectory since it left Halley's Comet a couple of days ago. They don't actually have records or something. They don't know what was going on. They're just like, they went into Halley's Comet for some weird-ass reason. They took a detour. And they came back acting kind of weird, I guess, because they stopped using the computer, like, kind of sudden. And no one found this odd just until recently, I guess. And now the ship's drifting through space. And at first, we're just told it's going off course, but then we go into space because they just launch another ship. They're like, grab another spaceship, launch it into space. So they launch another spaceship right quick. Boom! And it goes up into space so they can go there in person and find them. And the ship is, like, spinning. Like, it's just kind of going around the Earth. And they're like, yeah, if they were alive, they'd be really sick. That's like 300 consecutive rides on the Zipper. And they go over there. They go inside. And by the way, all of this stuff that they're doing, this is all very easy. Normally, I would say I was skipping over things, but literally, we're kind of moving at the pace that I'm describing it. Yes, we've gotten to the ship. We need to connect the ships, so connect the ships. Then they move across. No big deal. They're like, we're in the other ship. Is there air? Man, probably not. They look around, and they find dead people. They're like, it's just really bad, man. There's shit drifting around all over the place. It's all charred. It's all burned. It seems like there might have been a fire. And in the storage hold, there are these 3 cases with human beings in them, and one of them's a girl with some rockin' tits. And they're like, my God, it's great that this angel didn't get, hurt in the fire or whatever the fuck happened on here. Whatever killed all these other people, blew them apart, and then blew them apart again in the vacuum of space. Let's fucking get the hook and pole gang and get these things out of here. And they just, I don't know, kind of glide them, I guess, through the little port into the other ship, and they lock them up in there. And then they drive back to Earth. They go back to London. They just land next to the Parliament building. They get out. This is all so easy. And they bring it back to Her Majesty's Space Force headquarters. They're looking at these bodies. They're like, this is really incredible. There's this hot girl who was in this case. And then these two dudes. I guess they're good looking or something. I don't know, but they at least have a lot of makeup on them too. We've sectioned off the girl, and we always let you see her boobs, by the way. Like, we will not deny you her cleavage. So, like, there she is on the table, boobs exposed. We have a television camera on her. And then there's this guy, I think his name is Dr. Bukovsky. I might be wrong, but he works at Her Majesty's Space Force Center. And he is sitting there watching the television monitor of the girl laying in the room, the autopsy room or some sort of medical room. And he's like, oh yeah. And there's like this guard watching her outside, like she's gonna get up and leave or something. I don't know what he's doing there. But suddenly he defects. He goes out of his little post and walks into the room and goes over and is looking at her boobs. And he's like, I want them. Like, Mommy! Whoa! And she opens her eyes. She's hungry looking, man. She looks like she wants some, and it's not love. The dude watching the television monitor does nothing. I want to make that clear. His response is to do nothing. He just sits there and watches. And she gets up. She stands up. Again, he's just sitting there watching. You need to remember this, that his immediate reaction was nothing. And the guy is standing there. He's wearing, by the way, like a weird space helmet or some sort of helmet. He can't be breathing the same air that she's breathing or something. And she takes it off. And when this happens, God damn it, Her Majesty's Space Force will not tolerate its equipment being used and thrown around like this, because it's on the floor and he is kind of in a trance or something. She's like pulling him towards her. And this is back in the day when people didn't have cell phones or something. They didn't even have pagers or anything. I don't know. He's just like, I have to run down there. And so he starts running down there like it's True Grit. He's like, I gotta get there. He fucking needs me. She's too quick. Come over here, baby. Look at these sweaty titties. I know you want them. I'd let them out just for you. No. It kind of shocks you at first because you didn't know this was coming. But there's going to be like lightning and shit going back and forth. Like, she's draining his life force. She just like turns him into a mummy. He shrinks. He's like... Now, Dr. Bukovsky comes running in, and the first thing he sees is the guard's body kind of staggering, but then it falls over. We get it. It's like a fucking skeleton thing, mummy something now. And then suddenly, Gorgeous steps out of the darkness, and she's like, hey, baby, what do you think of these bad boys? Oh my god, I love them. What do you ask of me? Okay, so repeat, or we haven't learned our lesson, I guess. And Falata walks in the room, and he looks at the television screen, and he's like, where are the tissues and lotion out? Or he's seeing exactly what the other dude saw. Except this time, I guess I don't know, maybe she was full or something. She didn't want to pig out. She's like, I already ate that other dude. She drains some of that guy's life force. And for the rest of the movie, he gets like a lot of mileage out of it. I'm depleted. I'm tired. I gotta go to bed. I don't want to be a part of this. I can't take this. We are literally just maybe 20 minutes into this movie, maybe 25 minutes. And already this chick's on the loose. And she's out and about. And she's walking around the building naked. Now, there's a lot of dumb British guards just kind of hanging around, I guess, looking over things. They're not very serious about their jobs. And she puts them to the test. She comes in, hey man, take a look at these. And a little bit of that, and bye-bye. And she's walking on, and he's like, oh, bloody hell! He gets up, and he's following her. He's like, miss, what are you doing out of your knickers? And she goes downstairs and runs into two other guys, and she's like, well, damn, I've been surrounded. I feel threatened. My boundaries are being pushed. They're not respecting her, man. They're coming closer. One of them's like, come here. He's offering her a potato chip or something. I'm not sure what he's doing. Like, he wants to feed her like she's a dog. Come here, baby. It's okay. I think Falata told them that she's like an alien or something, that she's like not of this world. And they're kind of half vexed by her awesome boobage and kind of half not. So he's just doing the potato chip thing to thread the needle. And she rebukes this. She's like, just potato chips? I'm not going to put out for that. She uses her powers of the Sith to fuck him up, and his brains boil, and he's like, ah! He falls over, and then she looks to the other dude. Some for you, too. The dude behind her backs off. And she walks downstairs, and she's like, I'm not going to ask where the front door is. And she goes over to the window. Girls, do what you do best. And the windows fucking, like, burst, shatter. Like, it's just a whole bunch of explosions in front of her. She's like, ah! And, like, the side of the building blows out. All right. And she walks out. Now, I would say she disappears into the forest before they can find her, except that Falada finds her. He goes over to where the windows have broken, and he sees her kind of off in the distance. He's just like, that bitch is dynamite, and I feel like I need to have a strategy before I approach her. I don't think I'm going to go up and shake her hand or say howdy do, knowing what she's been doing to people. She's been draining them of life force, or at least the energy they need to come to work. And she's also been shocking people with her powers of the Sith and boiling people's brains. She apparently can blow glass out with her mind. She can do all sorts of shit. She is totally alien to this world. And totally dangerous, as Falada puts it. But then the escape pod from the spaceship, the Churchill, comes flying down to Earth, and it lands in Texas somewhere. And the guy that's in it is Colonel Steve. And Colonel Steve, we'll call him Colonel Steve. And Steve is an American. He's like the only American in the film. And Colonel Steve has to fill us in on the missing pieces. And he kind of does this incrementally for no reason whatsoever. It would have been best, I think, to totally, debrief everyone. But I guess, no. He's just going to do it in pieces to make it dramatic. Everyone on the ship went crazy. They started getting their energy drained or something. And then I don't know, I escaped or something. I don't know. His story is kind of vague and stupid. And he started that off, by the way, by saying, you'll never believe this. Listen, there was some naked chick in the building earlier, and she fucking used her tits to blow up the windows. So, I mean, I don't know. Come at us with whatever you got. And he comes at him with some weird shit. And they're like, well, that seems to make sense somehow. Why don't you go get some sleep? Why don't we all get some sleep? We all feel depleted, don't we? I don't know if it's this alien woman walking around or if it's just the day, but the fact that it's November, I gotta get to bed. So they go to bed. Safe to say that Steve doesn't get a lot of sleep, because as he's laying there, he wakes up and one of those creatures, one of those weird demon creature things that they saw on the ship, comes flying at him, and it's like, ah! Like some fog or something, some smoke, and it clears, and it's her, and we're like, oh. Here I am, rock you like a hurricane. Come on, baby. And he's like, my God, why are you in my mind? He's always asking her questions. He's like, why are you making me feel this way? I don't understand. I'm surprised she doesn't fucking slap him. She has a lot of patience for this dude. Shut up, become a part of me, or touch me, or fucking finger me. She's like, I'm making this so easy for you. Stop asking questions. I want you on me. I want you to be a part of me. I want you to drain my energy, and I'm going to drain your energy. She's just going to jerk him off, basically. But it's going to be a little more poetic. And he wakes up from this dream, and he's, super sweaty. And everyone is sitting around him, watching him. They're like, oh my God, do you feel okay? And I don't know. I had this weird dream that I was fucking this chick that was a dragon, and then she turned into a beautiful, hot woman that... I think she's the same chick that you guys saw breaking the windows. And by the way, at this point they address the issue of the two dudes, because remember, there were 3 aliens. We're just only interested in this woman because she's taken charge. These dudes have been sleeping, and no one's made any attempt to bother them. No one has gone in or touched their cases or molested them or anything. But anyway, they decide to get up. There are these 2 guards guarding them, and there's about, 5 glass barriers in between them and the room with the coffins in them or whatever. And they're just like her. They're like, we don't believe in doors. And they get up and they fucking start blowing shit up. They're like, take a look at our dicks. But you can't see that. Obviously, this is 1985, right? If it were today, you'd totally see it. These two British officers who I don't think they're allowed to carry guns, or maybe that's police officers, but they're British. They can only carry small guns. But one of them fucking takes a grenade off of their body, pulls the pin, and throws it towards the dudes because they've been shooting at them and it did nothing. I'll just set off a fucking grenade in the building. So he throws a grenade and it blows the dudes up. Now, the body parts of these dudes are taken somewhere to be analyzed and, I don't know, stored for safekeeping. But anyway, for the moment, they're kaput. We're only dealing with the chick. We're like, all right, we're just going to be following her. And so Falada's talking to Steve as he's sitting there, perspiring in bed, and he goes, listen, can I hypnotize you or something? You'd be cool with that? I know you're all freaked out and disoriented. Would you like me to fuck with your head some more? Sure, if it'll get rid of these horrible nightmares. And Falada takes out his phone, sets the flash or something. He's like doing a little thing with a light. Steve, are you still with me? Your mind is under my control. Where is she, Steve? I guess they just figure that he has some sort of weird mental connection with her or something. They just infer that. They're like, yeah, maybe it's true. And then it turns out that he could like fucking see out her eyes. And by the way, she ain't in her body anymore. She's in some other person's body. She's out somewhere else, like in a field. She's not as attractive as she was. I mean, I don't know. I guess she's okay looking. She's wandering through a field. She's looking for a man. What kind of man? What kind of man is she looking for? And Steve knows that the answer is him, because that's all. He's really the only man that she feels comfortable around. She's like, those dudes in the hallway, they fucking ganged up on me, made me feel weird, and I have a thing against men, but you, Steve, well, you're all right. So she wants him constantly. Currently, though, she would also like a ride because she's got to get somewhere, I guess. She encounters this dude, and we're seeing this again through like Steve's head or something. He's having a vision. And she gets in the car with him, and Dr. Falada's like, what's she doing? What is she saying? What's going on? And Steve is getting off on this. I'm sorry. Like, this is just what it is. He's like, she is taking his hand and putting it inside of her thigh, and he's getting all hot and bothered by it, and eventually he fucking comes. He's like, ah! What did she do? What happened? But anyway, he fainted like a bitch. He's like, I can't take this. Oh, am I fine? He falls over like the delicate Texas flower that he is. Now, the body of the guard who was drained and mummified has been taken to the pathology department. They are about to do an autopsy. This autopsy will require, 9 people or... What is this? There's a shit ton of people in here. Yeah, this is a pretty interesting autopsy. Any other observers want to come in, take a look? Anyway, so, this is some nasty business. Glove up! Sanitary operation. And he's getting to work or whatever, and before he can make the incision, it opens its eyes and it looks at him. I don't know how to describe this, man. The eyes just ruin the entire... it's some sort of automated type thing, and it's like a zombie or something, but it has these eyes with white corneas like mine, and colorful irises. I mean, it's just not the eyes of a dead person. It's not the eyes of a mummy. And that would be scarier. But no, it has these goofy, stupid-looking cartoon eyes. And it's like, ah! It sits up. It's not feeling well. It's like, come over here. There's this weird sound going on. Like this kind of roaring noise. It's creepy sounding. It's ghoulish. And the pathologist is taken. And he starts slinking over. And the mummy brings him close and starts sucking his life force in much the same way that his life force was drained. And it, rebuilds his body in a very stupid way, I have to say. It creates little dimples of flesh or skin or I don't know what. It just looks like putty is being thrown at his face. And it's kind of, bubbling up until it forms his face again. But anyway, okay, so there's some lightning going into his eyeballs. And the other dude, he's getting sick. He's like... He's zombifying, and he falls over. The guard is looking real proud of himself. He's standing there, naked. And he's like, oh, hey, oh, 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 what have I done? And there's this dude who's in the background. He's like a doctor, and he's thinking, I must save the day. I must tranquilize him before he drains more life force. And he's got a needle, he's unwrapping it, and he could not be less subtle about it. He's like staring at the dude, and the guard's freaking out because he's over there like, I have a sweet dose of murder, and he's gonna have to jump forward and fucking stick him with it like a fucking rattlesnake. No! Jam the needle into him. I'm really surprised it didn't just come out the other side of his arm. It's a gnarly looking needle, and he goes out. He goes bye. Well, we should probably watch both of them. Like the guard that just came back to life and drained life force, and the mummy. Like, let's put that in a cage. Let's put it like in a jail cell, just in case it gets up and tries to hurt anyone. You can't blame him because Dr. Fallada brings this detective who has shown up. His name is Colonel Kane. Colonel Kane is a big Budinsky, if you ask me. I mean, there's Dr. Bukowski, but then there's this guy. He's very intense about everything, does not appreciate lethargy in the least, and she's leaving a huge trail of it behind her. We're not really sure what her goal is, like what her mission is exactly at this point. We just think that this is some sort of vampire rampage of some kind. Like, who the fuck gives a shit? It's the open-ended mission of a vampire. Vampires are kind of stupid in that regard. They really have no endgame. They just want to make more vampires. Or something. Like, I want to make more vampires. I just want to make the world a terrible place. Like, I'm really angry. Or, Satan, the fallen angel. I carry his grudges. but it turns out she's got a bigger plan, and she's got to let Steve in on it. Steve is already kind of in on it as it is, but he's not telling. We just think this is an aimless massacre. Dr. Fallada brings Colonel Kane downstairs to the basement to look at the bodies. And it's been exactly 2 hours. This is the incubation period of this illness. It seems that after life force has been sucked from you, you stay as a mummy for about 2 hours, and then you come back to life. And the dude that came back to life, the guard, he's not looking well. He wants out of the cage bad. And he can't really describe why. He just really wants out. He's like, he's not feeling well. Now he's a vampire. He's like a weird life force zombie vampire. He needs to drain life force. And he's not getting life force. He can't find any. He's like, come over here, I just want to play. And they're looking into his eyes, and they know exactly the kind of game he wants to play. And it ain't cricket. And eventually, he withers into a zombie again and dies, and he turns into dust. Fallada pokes it with a stick. He's like, just as I feared. It would appear that the victim, after having their life force depleted from their bodies, require 2 hourly injections of energy. They have to drain energy, not just every now and then, like a vampire. Again, kind of the dumb thing about them. They don't have any specific regimen. These guys, they have to drain life force every 2 hours, otherwise they fucking turn to dust. Like, it's brutal. Being a life force zombie is not very fun, and it's communicable. I mean, this chick only does so much damage herself directly. Most people get turned into zombies by other zombies, and then they get a report from Hyde Park or somewhere. They get a report. They're like, a woman was found in the park. She looked to be zombified. And they get out there, and sure enough, she looks like a bog man. They're like, wow, that's bad. She's totally naked, but we're looking at the color of her bush, and it's not the color of the other chick. She was a brunette, and she's a dirty blonde, and we have to quarantine her body. And who knows how long she's been out there, but they get her back, and they strap her down, and they attach electrodes to her head just to see what's going on in her brain. I didn't say exactly to. She comes back to life. Bing, 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 bing. Ah! And she freaks out so bad that the machine blows up. I fucking sue the company that made that machine. That's hospital equipment. It should not fucking blow up. Hospital equipment that blows up when it can't handle what? Too much electrical readings, and then it blew up. It was combustible. I don't fucking buy that for a minute, but okay, the machine blew up. The zombie freaked it out. And it wants life force. It's like, ah! And it's not feeling well. And again, it's got those stupid, weird eyes. And everyone's watching. What were they expecting? What are they learning from this? And they're like, well, at least now we know that if we attach a machine to it, the machine will blow up. So we better not do that. Or, like, if she's got a remote control in her hand, beware. So, in short, the woman blows up. She doesn't just turn into dust. Like, she blows up and turns into dust. And they're like, okay, well, cool. And they don't find any more victims like this immediately because she's not draining people of life force. She's not doing that. Steve is able to produce a name for Falada as to who this chick that he's seeing in his head is, the body that this woman has taken. Her body, the alien body, that it still looks like a woman's body, so who really cares? But okay, she kept it. That's a special thing. Didn't seem too special to those other dudes who got blown apart. And again, they're not dead, but she's got to keep her body totally safe. And she hid it somewhere for now. We don't know where, but it doesn't really matter because she's not in it. We want her weird energy thing. She can jump around into people. So right now she's in some woman, and he ends up producing a name. He coughs it up. He's like, her name's Elaine or Elena or something. She's a mental patient at some hospital somewhere, like a mental patient at Borshire Hospital. And so they go over there, and the person who answers is Dr. Armstrong, i.e. Patrick Stewart. Pre-Star Trek Patrick Stewart. Not a lot of that. He's just a little bit more British. Like, his accent is a little thicker. He's like, well, Elena is upstairs in, like, the luxury suites or something. I mean, there are some areas of this hospital that are not pretty. Yeah, no, she's upstairs, like, in the penthouse, in the nice apartments. Here's the key. And they just wander up there, and Steve sees Elena, and she's in her, like, nightgown, and she's like, what is it that you want? Officer Colonel Kane. We need to talk to you about some weird space vampire dragon bat thing that might be inside of your head. Steve just, like, grabs her and starts banging her head on the dresser. Tell me where she is! Show yourself! She's a masochist, or she's a sadist, or she likes this. Shut up. That's like her sickness. And Colonel Kane literally says, I'm a voyeur. He sits down, he just watches. He, like, pours himself a glass of whiskey and puts some peppercorns in there. Yes! Mm. He's watching the whole thing. Oh no, I don't see her. She's not inside of Elaine anymore. She's moved on. I'm done with you. Throws her. And, I mean, literally, I think they might knock her out. And Colonel Kane just couldn't care less. He's like, well, in the pursuit of justice, we all take a step away from God. And once we do, it's pretty hard to take a step back. They come out and they greet Dr. Armstrong again. And I think, like, Steve whispers something to the Colonel. Well, we need to go find this other patient that we believe she jumped into. It's this dude with a big birthmark on his face. And Dr. Armstrong is like, ooh, the child killer? Well, I'd better take you into the boiler room then. And he brings him downstairs, and, you know, there's pipes that are dripping, and there's steam hissing, and they're like, it seems like no one gets better when they come to this hospital. The child killer. He opens it up, they go in there. Colonel Kane and Steve, like, kind of coordinate to jump on Dr. Armstrong. As he's waking up the crazy big child killer, they could have done that before this dude woke up. Not that he puts up much of a struggle or anything. He looks like he just wants to go back to bed. He's done child killing. He's better, you know, despite what they say. He's like a success case or something, but they still keep him here. Point is that Dr. Armstrong's on the ground and Patrick Stewart's freaking out. I mean, he hasn't been in movies very long, and already they're grinding his face into a dirty concrete floor. And they grab a hypodermic needle full of barbitol, and again, not intravenous, they just, like, stick it into his shoulder. Take him into his office, and they prop him up on, like, a table or something. They've got to examine him further because she is in him, and now that he's under, she's trapped. Yeah, no, as long as he's under, she can't come out. It's a stupid vulnerability of hers. I know that because I'm connected with her closer. You guys want to hear some more about shit that happened on the ship that I didn't tell you about? Well, things were being destroyed, like sabotage, and we thought, well, maybe people are going crazy because they're not eating or sleeping or something. And then eventually I realized that I had to set fire to the ship, and I blew up all the oxygen and I left in the escape pod or something. Well, that's great. Thanks for getting that out. And then Patrick Stewart wakes up and he's like, yes, thanks. I remember. It was pretty awesome. Ah! I need 2 doses of barbitol. No, 2 doses will severely hurt him. He takes both doses and sticks it into poor Patrick Stewart's neck, like into his carotid artery and jugular. And this doesn't kill him. I mean, this causes him to start shaking and freaking out, but it doesn't kill him. It keeps him under. You know what? If you're gonna fuck with me and violate my personal boundaries, then I'm gonna summon lightning. And she like fucking reaches up and there's fucking like weird lights flying around and there's wind and there's shit like zapping and it ends up killing someone in the room. Someone gets like knocked off their feet and dies. And Colonel Kane, though, he has to stick around for the end of the movie. So he just gets thrown back against a wall, and she's not hurting Steve. I mean, even though Steve is the one on top of her assaulting her, i.e. Patrick Stewart, remember. Even though that's going on, she's like, no, I'm just going to argue with you. Come to me, Steve, come to me, you know where I am. I don't know where you are. Or something. What are you talking about, bitch? I want you so bad, you were in me. Remember when you were in me? And again, he's like, shut up, man, shut up. Like, don't let Colonel Kane know about that. And so he, like, slaps her around. I don't know. The point is that we don't really get anywhere. We just kind of keep her inside of Dr. Armstrong. Well, we better go back to headquarters. We better, like, leave here in the helicopter we arrived in. Bring the body of the dude that we were with that got murdered. I don't remember who he was. He was, like, the Minister of Defense or something. Bring his body, and bring Patrick Stewart, who's kind of alive, and we'll take them back to wherever. And you know that if we're going to go into the process of what's going to happen with their bodies and all those details, you know that something crazy is going to happen with them, right? And sure enough, mid-flight, the pilot needs to keep his eyes on, I don't know, at least in front of him. He keeps looking back, like, hey guys, I got a message on the horn, you want to hear about it? What are you doing? What are you looking at? He ends up peeking over his shoulder when something really gross happens. Steve is going into another flashback where he's kind of admitting to the fact that, yeah, he was inside the alien. He has to fill us in on the last blank. You know, I have to admit that she was right. I have been in her before. It was on the ship. I went into the storage hold. I was really horny. I was thinking about jerking off, and then I saw her, and I don't know, like, I guess I opened the case, or she opened the case. He's kind of trying to cover for himself. He's like, I don't know who started the hell, but until you have had your face in those rocking intergalactic titties, then you can't tell me I was wrong. And it's crazy. I guess he ended up making out with her, or at least that's what we're shown. She took some of my energy. I mean, basically he came. Oh, wow, I feel depleted. And in return, he adds, she gave me some of hers, and now she wants it back. That she's calling to him. She's mentally communicating with him or something. He's in touch with her. Basically, what he's saying is her load is in me, and now I gotta go to her or whatever. It's like bitch logic. She's a fucking weird bat thing in real life, but she's the feminine in my mind. I've chosen her form. She likes it. But I gotta go make out with her. That's all I could think about. Well, honey, we can make out right here. Suddenly, Patrick Stewart starts, like, bleh, spitting blood out of his mouth. And so does the dead guy, too. Like, blood starts streaming out of their mouths. And it's creating, like, a weird, bloody tumor, like, of squirming fluids and weird mucus kind of mashing and forming and kind of expanding. It's gross. And it's kind of turning into a person, I suppose. It's not a very well done effect. And everyone is just freaking out silently. They're having their own personal meltdowns, including the pilot. Whoa, what the fuck is that? He's not looking, again, wherever the fuck he's supposed to be looking at. The controls are out in front of him, or I don't know why, but he's looking backwards. He's like, ah! It's a weird tumor thing! And it takes the form of the woman or something, kind of. I don't know what this is. She's like a being made out of blood, and she opens her eyes, again, those weird cartoony eyes that they always have. She's like, whoa! Oh, this ain't gonna last for long! See ya! She, like, turns into a puddle of blood. There's human Slurpee all over the place. And they almost crash, by the way, because remember, the dude wasn't looking in front of him. They land at Her Majesty's Defense Headquarters or something. I don't know where Her Majesty is. She's probably in Kensington Palace at the moment, and dealing with the situation and talking to Parliament members. We're going to talk to the Prime Minister. We have to talk to him directly. He just has time for this. And everyone's walking around, it looks makeshift for no particular reason. And everyone's talking, they're throwing papers about, they're like strategizing, because this thing, by the way, has turned into a whole fucking zombie epidemic, man. It's bad. They're like, we need to see the Prime Minister, Colonel Kane and Steve. They're like, we gotta see the Prime Minister right now. And his secretary is like, no, I'm sorry, but you can't see him just this moment. He's very busy. I'll get him as soon as I can. Would you like a cup of tea, Colonel? And Steve. I mean, just the way she's acting, this nonchalant, I'm not taking it seriously. She's going to get drained. And the Prime Minister comes in, and he looks all sweaty. He's obviously a fucking vampire now. I mean, I don't know how anyone can't see this. Boys. Oh, the zombies, yes. We will be talking about that momentarily, but, is it fucking hot in here? Miss McGregor, come with me. Come. And he, like, takes her into a back room, and he's like, Miss McGregor, please, I need your energy! My God, we have to get out of here right now! And they run out, they don't tell anyone. I like how they don't tell anyone. So I guess the Prime Minister's on the loose. And there's a constant dribble of, like, weird psychic images into Steve's head throughout this whole film, like she's pissing on him or something. Find my body, Steve! Come to me! And he can see that she's in a church somewhere, but we don't know which one until the Colonel kind of makes the connection. He's like, well, there's a church over there in London, and there's like a huge beam, like a bright blue stream of life force coming out of it. Could she be in there? Is she in that church? That seems to add up. And then they look up, just a little bit above them. They follow the stream, and oh my God, there's the ship from Halley's Comet. By the way, it's big and it's green in the sky, but who gives a shit about that compared to this stuff? And the spaceship up there, the umbrella, it's dilated, and everyone's like, woo! It's tilted downward, it's ready for action, and right now it's siphoning up life force. It's beautiful! And Steve's like, I'm sorry, I can't take it. I gotta go fucking caress her awesome boobage. I don't know what to tell you guys. And he steals a truck and he drives on into London, which I guess has been quarantined. There's blockades all around it. And the Colonel goes in after him. And I gotta say, I was never really too uptight for these guys as far as their safety is concerned. I mean, if you're in a car and you're driving, like if you're consistently moving, you're pretty much fine. So they're in cars and they're moving along and they're going to their respective places. Steve wants to go right to the cathedral so he can, fucking make out with her and whatever. But what Colonel Kane wants to do first is go back to Her Majesty's Space Agency and talk to Falada, because Falada, he gave him a phone call to tell him that he had figured out a way maybe to hurt the space monsters. And when Kane gets there, Falada, again, is in his office all by himself, seeming very unconcerned with the apocalypse that is unfolding before him outside his wraparound window. It's a cool building. But there's hell going on out there, and Falada don't seem to give a shit. Well, if you think that I'm, against you or whatever, that I've been turned into a weird thing, take a look at that. And on the table, we see one of the dudes. It's one of the male aliens or whatever, and he's dead. And there's a huge fucking something sticking out of him, a saber of some kind. It's like sticking out of his chest, and he's like on the table. That is the only way to kill them. A large leaded iron saber through not the heart, but the energy gland 2 inches below the heart. So you have to hit them in their energy gland or something, and it blows up and they die. But it only works if you do it with this thing. Or whatever the fuck's going on. I mean, outside there's zombies fighting each other in the streets and people being drained, but there's also like weird currents of blue light flying around, and Falada's like, I don't know how to explain that shit, but I do know that this is how you kill him. So you can have that saber if you wish. And he starts like acting really weird all of a sudden. He's like, and it's just the way they're lighting him that just, I don't know, they're kind of like doing it from below to kind of make him look freaky. But Kane doesn't give him time. He's like, you know what? I am a British cop that does carry a gun, and I'm not afraid to use it, motherfucker! And he falls on the ground, and he starts giggling. Here I go. His back explodes, and like all of this energy comes flying out and goes out the window with a scream! Wow, what an exit. I mean, Kane feels victorious, but he also feels a little put in his place. So he turns and leaves with the saber. He's like, I'll use this to kill someone. And he gets back in his car, and he lingers there for a little while. He's thinking. He does this a couple of times. He parks the car. Steve does it too. You know, I won't just single out Kane for this. Steve does this too. They'll just pause the car, feeling, I guess, safe because nothing's happened yet. I need to have a flashback. Gee, where would he go? I guess I should probably go to the church or something. Because Falada also told me that that's probably where the dude'll be. They're siphoning the life force energy up to the collector, and it's got to go through her body, so that's what the stream is. The other dude is siphoning it to her. Who the fuck knows what he's doing? But we got to kill him, too. And Steve gets to the cathedral, and he gets inside, and he finds her. She is in, like, she's underneath the pulpit. She's, like, on a different level. And she's down on a slab in sort of something that's underneath the main cathedral, which is full of dead bodies. She's like, nah, I'm too classy for that. I'm down here, and I'm in my fucking glittering lace, and my tits are just barely covered. You can still see my areolas. And I'm waiting! She wants Steve to get his ass over there, and so he climbs on down through the manhole that the light is shining up through. He's like, how's it going, babe? And she gets up, and she's like, just come up, get up onto the slab with me, take your clothes off, and fuck me! She's like, get into this light, it feels good! Oh my god, I can't resist. Like, he gives up pretty quick, he just jumps on up there. You know, I have this weird alien life form. It wants to destroy the world, or at least it wants to destroy London. I don't see this problem as spreading beyond this particular city, so this isn't like the end of the world or anything, it's more like local news. But this chick, I mean, she's serious news. She's badass, and he's like, she wants to jerk me off. And so he gets on up there and he starts making out with her, and that's what she wants. And Colonel Kane gets to the cathedral, and he gets out, and he walks on up. You know, there's some bodies piled up with people in them that are kind of half alive. They're kind of reaching out like, come over here. And then out of a pile of these bodies, one of the males, I guess the remaining one, comes popping out, like he comes rising out in a glorious nimbus light. There's like energy going into him or something. It's going into his chest. And he looks down, and he has this dumb fucking voice. And the shit he says to Kane, as if he should say anything, is beyond ridiculous. He's like, it'll just be easier if you come to me. Come to me. What does that mean? Climb up the mound of bodies and give you a hug or something? He's like, it'll just be better if you do that. I'm not even gonna move or do anything. He's just standing there. I guess he just doesn't take Kane seriously. He's like, I've got a saber and knowledge. And he runs up and he he really gives him a Steve Irwin. The energy starts circling around him. I guess the field's crossed or something. And it turns red, too, which isn't pretty. And he turns into a huge demon bat thing. Remember those? And then that blows up. Or I don't know. We go through a couple of different stages of things blowing up. This is kind of an homage to vampires. How is she going to blow up? What's she going to do? Like, what's going to happen with her? So he goes into the cathedral. He's done with that. He took care of that problem. And he goes over and sees the hole with the shining light coming out. And I guess it's kind of like a bug zapper. Like, she doesn't want him in the light, so it kind of... Whoa! Damn. And he looks down, and what's Steve doing? He's butt-ass naked, and he's fucking her. Oh. shit, I kind of just counted on Steve, the way he was talking and all, how he was taking the initiative, and how he drove here first. I just kind of assumed that he would have a leg up on this, but instead he's just got her leg up on him. And he's watching, and he spends a little time watching. And he's like, no, no, this is bad. More human souls are being siphoned up to the umbrella. The evil plan is going to be carried out. Whatever that is. Again, I think it's only specific to this area. Maybe this neighborhood. Because the lights are wrapping up outside. The streams of energy that are collecting all of the souls and life forces and whatever, they're kind of coming through and cleaning up. And again, he's asking fucking questions. He's sitting there going, why are you in my mind? Why are you doing this to me? Why do I feel so close to you? Oh my God, you are fucking annoying. Thank God you're beautiful. And my form was chosen by you, the feminine in your mind. Oh, and by the way, turn around and open up. I want the piece of myself that I left in you back. And Kane is up there with the harder argument to make. He's like, hey, break away from that beautiful babe. Like, stop making out with her. Stop fucking her. And stick this sword through her. At least Steve kind of looks up. He's like, what's going on up there? And he reaches up, catches this huge leaded iron saber just with one hand. He's like, oh, thanks. I am from Texas. And then he drives it around and, like, sticks it through both of them. Like, it goes through the two of them. And she's like, no! Those other dudes were blown apart. They blew up, and they weren't even as important as she is. And we just saw that dude standing outside. He was siphoning life force. His body looked fine. Who the fuck gives a shit? But she gets stabbed with this thing. She can't take it. She's like, ah! Oh, fuck! Damn it. Oh, I still want you, baby. Why does it hurt? Why did I have to do it to the both of us? Why? They're sitting there hugging naked with a sword through them, kind of like they're a club sandwich. The beam discontinues. It goes back up, and it's like, it closes up, and it drifts off to go back into Halley's Comet, which... in another 76 years or so, it'll be back to do its thing. But until then, it's got plenty of human souls. And we see the crystal chamber, where shit happens. Or I don't know what's going on, because, like, all of the life force starts zapping the different crystals and pods and things. And so, I don't know. I feel like we're being fed, and I don't think that chick died. I think she just got stuck back in her energy crystal. And I don't know what happened to Steve, either. Maybe he's in some energy crystal, kind of always in and out of an orgasm. Or whatever this thing is. I don't know. It goes back into space and it travels off, and no one cares to go after it. The Prime Minister, no one trusts him now. And that's the end of the film. It's constant action. Constant action. Constant music. And it's great music. It's awesome music by Henry Mancini. But... for Patrick Stewart and Tobe Hooper and all of that shit, some things about this movie are just unforgivably bad. First of all, when we're in space, they don't even try. They just don't try. Like, again, Halley's Comet is green, and you know what? Okay, whatever, fine. It's kind of comic bookish. It's green. But we see the Earth at one point. We see, I don't know, one of the spaceships, the Churchill or the Columbia, drifting around Earth, and... I mean, I don't even... It's just a painting of a globe. I mean, we're not even looking at specific continents or anything. It's just shapes. Painted green, no topography whatsoever. And we're very close to it, too. And it shocks me that there's no effort made at all to make it look realistic in the slightest. And also, the miniatures of London, when we see it... do zombie attacks make napalm go off and explosions occur at the top of the London Bridge and stuff? I don't know, but apparently hidden stockpiles of gunpowder are blowing up and shit, and there's people running around, lights are flashing. We have to see these scenes of London, up in smoke. But the miniatures, man, I don't know. I can't think that the Japanese are the only people that can pull this off. It's terrible. I don't like it. Maybe we should stay out of London because you'll turn into a toy if you go. But... and other effects, though, that are corny, like the light flashing around and the stupid zombie things. And at the beginning of the movie, when we had to get up close and personal with the zombie, like during the autopsy and stuff, that was I don't know, that's where the money went or something. That was the animatronic thing or whatever that was kind of skeleton-ish. Later on, though, when we have tons of them running around in groups, they just look like people with makeup on them. That kind of thing is kind of fun, except for the dumb fucking eyeballs they have. Those eyeballs that they're just cartoony looking. I'm sorry, it ruins it. But I gotta say, man, it's constant action, it's fun, and there is a lot of boobage. And just a lot of making out and a lot of life force taking. It's basically like, I don't know, a marathon fuck session or something. It just kind of starts at 10 and keeps going for the whole movie. It never really subsides all that much. I mean, there are some small periods of downtime, but some hell will fucking happen. And a lot of it is flashbacks too. I was kind of explaining that as best I could, but it jumps all over the place. So by the end, it kind of takes you by surprise. Oh, that was it. It just left. We're not going to go see what happened with London. We're not going to go see what happened with any of the other characters. Oh, I guess not. Or okay. Lifeforce. It's an awesome film. Give it a watch. 1985 by Tobe Hooper. It's based on a book, I think, called The Space Vampires or something.